moving on, and now I'll be doing qualities. I have picked knowledge of skill and sport, knowledge of laws, and understanding of participants' physical needs. I'll start with knowledge of skill and sport. This is important for a coach because they'll be recognising and exposing opponents' weaknesses and strengths. I think this is important as in players and as well as working out strengths and weaknesses in other teams for tactics. They must implement tactics because it is a coach's role to implement tactics, making sure the team is doing well and using the correct tactics for different plays. They must have the ability to develop techniques. This means a coach must spot the weaknesses in the techniques and make sure that they are doing correctly, so therefore they must have knowledge of the skill and the sport to make sure that the performers of their own team are doing the techniques properly. If the coach wants to be coaching an elite team, they must gain more qualifications and experience, so therefore they must have their own experiences coaching different teams and working their way up to the ladder to be successful coaching elite athletes or elite teams. The difference between the elite coach and the non-elite coach is they gain those qualifications and their own experience. The more experience and qualifications the coaches have, the more productive and efficient coaching they'll have towards elite athletes. Next is knowledge of the laws. This is important for a coach because they will need to have knowledge of the development of the sport through the NGBs, the national government bodies. This means that they must keep up to date with the laws and the regulations of the sport, because if they had to coach a team of athletes and they have qualified to the next division, the regulations and the laws might have changed, and then when they're playing it, they'll go by the old rules or a different kind of rules, and they could be disqualified because of the coach not knowing the right laws and regulations. They must implement the regulations of kit and equipment. This is very important because the rules and regulations do change by the national government bodies, and they change for a health and safety reason. Therefore, making sure that the coach has got the right kit and equipment for the team is very important. Lastly, understanding of participants' physical needs. This is important because the coach needs to have first aid qualification as a coach, because if a performer or a player gets injured, so that the coach is on scene to be able to deal with the problem first aid. They need to check the facilities are safe and suitable for the session and the players. Therefore, to prevent injuries, it is important to risk assess the facilities and the equipment to prevent any injuries to any of the players or performance as a coach. They must make sure the warm-up and cool-down is done correctly, therefore preventing more injury to the participant, because if you didn't cool down and warm up, the performers, they can strain their muscles and end up aching the next day, and they might not be able to perform the best of their abilities when playing a game. They must make sure that they are keeping an eye on the performer's health, because some players might be playing for another team as well as your team, and if they are tired or feeling fatigued or not well, you must make sure that you must look into their health and make sure that they are healthy and fit for their game, that you might be able to push them, because if you push the player over the limit, then that's when you cause injuries. The difference between an elite coach and a non-elite coach for understanding physical needs is that the elite coach is probably more likely to push their performers to be able to win the game, because they are more likely wanting to win the games that they're playing rather than caring about the performer's physical needs. Whereas the non-elite is normally a local coach or a dad or a parent of a child that is playing, and they take more notice of individual people and their performance. Therefore, they will notice if they are fatigued or if they're ill, and they will make sure that they are fit to play and that they're not going to push them over the limit. Next, we've got characteristics of a coach, and I have picked 3: empathy, approachable, and positive. I think that empathy is important as for a coach, because they need to be understanding differences, to notice the differences and notice that people may be upset, knowing what to do and being discreet about it, because the coach wouldn't want to disrupt the class when someone is upset because the performer or the student may not want to open up then when the class is looking over. So they need to make sure they're discreet. They need to know what to do if a student or performer has a problem. This is the next stage you do, because as coach you may not be qualified or put in that position to be dealing with certain problems. Therefore, you need to know as coach where to go next and who to take the person to. An example of this is when a group of children is doing a sports session and the coach noticed that one is dyslexic. As coach, you wouldn't want to stand that child out. You would want to make sure that the activity is understanding for that particular person, and that they are able to do all the things that you need to do. And if they are not, that you need to adapt your session plan to fit the student or the performer. Why you need them? Because you don't want to single out people, and it makes people more approachable to the coach, as they feel that the coach will understand them and they'll help the performer even if they do have a problem. Next is approachable. The coach must wear correct kit at all times at coaching times. They must be motivated towards the sport and the participants and being positive. They must have open body language. This is important because people need to look up to the coaches as a role model, and being approachable is part of the responsibility of being a coach. Therefore, they must look presentable and that they are able to help the students if there is a problem. An example of this would be if a child is upset and they are scared to approach a coach. The coach will need to be approachable for the child to feel safe, to be able to go up to that coach and explain what the situation is about, because they might be bullying is the reason why they're upset. Lastly, I think a coach should be positive, because they will be motivated and encouraging their performers or players positively. The more positive they are, the children or performers' behaviour more likely to be positive, because they look at the coaches as role models. Why do you need these? Because the coach should be positive, as they make him a great role model. Being positive is an important asset of being a coach. For example, if a coach of a netball team is not being very positive, they're being negative about the score, being negative against the players and the environment that they're playing in, and the performers of the players would not want to be there because all the negativity is getting to them and they don't feel motivated. The coach will not be encouraging them because that's positive behaviour. Therefore, positive behaviour towards the players will also affect the players because it bounces off the coach and it motivates and encourages the players to play well and their behaviour to stay good. Lastly, I have one technique. I have picked effective demonstration. I think effective demonstration is very important for any coach because demonstration explains and describes a task you want to do for the players, and if they don't understand, a demonstration is another way to get across as communication. There's non-communication, which includes demonstration. You can demonstrate by using a range of techniques such as hand signals, actually doing the action, and other ideas. How you use this technique. To demonstrate, you will need to do it before the action, while verbally explaining it can also put specific actions into place because some students don't always understand straight away what you're asking them to do. Therefore, demonstrating by using basics, slow, and describing the action you want your performers to do in a slow, clear way, it will help the students understand a lot more. An example of this would be before a training session, the coach will demonstrate how to do a chest pass correctly, also explaining verbally how to do the technique correctly. The effective demonstration will make sure that the coach is stood in front of everybody and that everybody can see it, and they're doing it slow and making basic steps, step by step, slowly, to make sure the students understand what is going on. The strengths and weaknesses of this technique. I think the weaknesses is that some people don't always understand the action is being made if it's just a demonstration. I think that a demonstration should be verbal and not non-verbal. So you need to talk about the coaching points as well as showing the actions. I think the strength could be that it's effective once you are talking and demonstration that the performers are easily understanding what the coach would want them to do. I think that is very successful in both elite and non-elite teams as well as team and individual team, as demonstration can be used in many things and is most commonly used with or without any experience or qualification. It comes naturally to humans. If you don't understand it, that you try using hand signals, you use demonstrations, you try different ways to communicate to people. A improvement for this technique would, I would say, to talk with it, to use verbal communication as well as non-verbal, which is the demonstration. They also use a range of communication skills, such as hand gestures. It's also demonstration, but it's its own category. The hand gestures is very easy to demonstrate what you would like them to do. Talking is easy to demonstrate. There's loads of different communicational techniques a coach can use to get across information or to get the performers to do what they would like them to do. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.